Hey there, folks. Malik here once again with another interview. Our guest today is an actor I would bet good money you've heard before, as he's been in countless shows that have had New York voice talent backing them. He's been Duke Devlin in Yu-Gi-Oh!, Casey Jones in Ninja Turtles, Kid Muscle in Ultimate Muscle, a mainstay on Pokemon like even before it jumped to digital animation, and he's done a lot of Star Wars audiobooks, like a lot. Like I even have to say it, it is an absolute pleasure to chat today with Mr. Marc Thompson.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Thanks for the intro. That was epic.
Oh, thanks. I wrote in like the last 10 minutes. I was like, oh man, I repeated a little bit of stuff from my last interview with Oliver Wyman. I got to do something else, but I'm glad you liked it. I also got to say, I've said this with my last two guests. Thank you for lowering your standards enough to get to talk with me today.
No, it's fun all the time.
Oh, that's great. Have you done interviews like this before in the past?
Yeah, I've been actually doing a lot of podcasts lately. They're becoming so popular. Like people it's such a great way to kind of learn more about stuff you're interested in, and kind of on a more extended way get to know the process and get to know people and stuff. So they're really fun.
So we're just gonna talk about like stuff in your career and blah blah blah. And I mean, when I interviewed Oliver Wyman last year, we talked about this a little bit before we started, but we just went on tangents about like our favorite comic books and comic book movies and video games and stuff like that. So it's pretty freeform. We can just talk about whatever comes to your mind or whatever crosses your mind, if that's
okay,
cool.
Great. Yeah.
So I'll just start it off with the basic question. How did you find your way into the world of voiceover? Everyone's got their own way of breaking into it, but what was your background and what were your inspirations to get started?
Right. Oh, well, it's one of those things where pretty early on I was interested in it. I think like one of the main inspirations was the movie was a combination of Mrs. Doubtfire and Aladdin. And like there's the opening scene in Mrs. Doubtfire when Robin Williams is doing kind of the voiceover for the opening cartoon, and I think that was one of the first times I realized that, oh, that's how that's done. Like that's, you're in a studio and you might see the animation, or you're doing it, and and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like that looks like that would be really fun. And then when I saw Aladdin and kind of put two and two together, that okay, like that's what he did in that one, but now he's doing it for real here, and just all the different voices he was doing and all the different things. Robin Williams was a big inspiration to me, and I just loved his energy and his all the things he could do, and so I think that's what maybe planted the seed of, oh, I'd really like to do that, And then in a very broad sense or general sense, I was in high school shows, and I was in show choir, jazz choir, and we did the musicals, and I did speech and debate team where you basically do like competitive dramatic or humorous monologues, and it's done like a sporting event, but you're doing like monologues. And so that was kind of my niche in high school, and that was the stuff that I really enjoyed doing and I felt like I was okay at. And I had great teachers and coaches that really kind of supported me and said, hey, you could maybe do this. And so I tried, and I went to school at NYU, and I got into the acting program there, and I just kind of like kind of kept going with acting that way. And the voiceover stuff was kind of a happy accident, because I remember this was in the olden days before the internet, but it was like web pages were just starting to become a thing. But on a cork board, they had a posting for some audition, and it was MTV was producing a cartoon about vampires, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. And the way you were supposed to audition is they had a voicemail number, and you call on the phone, and you're supposed to leave a character voice message on the answering machine, and if they liked it, they would call you back. So It was a
Interesting.
vampire cartoon. I know, it was very weird. So I called and I did like an Igor voice from Frankenstein. I was like, "Hello,
Yeah.
I'd like to be in your cartoon," and
Ooh,
I
nice.
just did something goofy like that, and that was good enough to get me in the doors. So then they called me back and had me audition in person, and that one ended up not going into production. But then there was this show called Daria that was
Yeah.
a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead, and they had me audition for that, and I got cast in that, and that was kind of my first official voiceover job, and it kind of snowballed from there. And like that show ran for a while and was pretty popular, and then I started auditioning for other things, and here I am. I want to say 20 years later, and we're still doing it. So it's been a pretty cool ride.
So wait, so Daria was recorded in New York, or was it like a split cast or something?
I was talking about this with somebody else the other day. It was predominantly recorded in New York. I don't know if Tracy was in L.A. or not. So there may have been some cast members in L.A., but we were most of us I think were here, and it was recorded over at Sync Sound. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, we only really saw each other at cast parties and stuff like that, like because we all recorded individually. So I really don't know who was in LA and who was in New York, but every once in a while we'd all see each other. And now Julian, who played Daria's dad, he actually like owns a recording studio now, so I'll still get to see him at like auditions and stuff like that, and every once in a while we'll record stuff in his studio. So it's always funny to see him there based on how we started out. So
That's really cool. So speaking of like how your career pretty much just snowballed from there, I wanted to talk about your tenure on Pokemon.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, what was the first role on the show that you can recall? Because like I tried looking back, and I think the first thing I saw, the earliest thing, was a character in Pokemon Forever. But can you remember?
That sounds right. Like, to be honest, so much of the stuff on Pokemon has blended together in my mind. So I really don't remember. I think I was like, what I vaguely remember is like being an old guy in one of the first episodes that was kind of a one-off episode where I was like one of the people that Ash meets on the road or something like that. And then I started getting, and he was a human, and but then I started getting a bunch of the creatures, and then it really just becomes a wash and all meshed together, because I really like I've lost count of how many I've done or who I've done, but they started just throwing different characters at me. And it's a lot of fun, and it's always very strange, because you're like, so wait, I'm just saying this name over and over and over again? They're like, yeah. Like, okay. So, but then you start having fun with it and playing around with the intentions and stuff. So that's a blast.
Yeah. Because so I may not know who the first person you were. I may not know who the first person you voiced was, but you voiced like a lot of like iconic characters, like Maxie in Pokemon Advance, the Team Magma leader, Colonel Hansen. He was like this mustachioed, Dick Dastardly looking guy who was like he tried to steal like a bunch of Togepi from like a Mirage Castle. But you've done like this. It's not ringing any bells at all.
No. The ones I remember are, I remember like Gliscor and like and Tepig. And I remember what's his name? Don George, welcome to the gym, Ash. We're going to go out and do some Pokemon training or something like that.
Oh, yeah, you were like Don George.
Yeah.
I have to ask, was that like, were you inspired by Macho Man Randy Savage?
A little bit, yeah.
Doing that?
You're the first one to catch it.
Yes, I know, because I wanted to say, because you also did like the voiceovers for like the CW for Kids and Toon's Eye. I know that. 'Cause I could figure out like, "You're watching the CW4 Kids Toons Eye," blah, blah, blah. And you did like, there was a thing when Dragon Ball Z Kai was on the network, they had like little marathons, and they called them the Dragon Ball Z Kai Brawlathon, and you basically went like, get ready for 8 rocking rounds of the show that packs serious punch. And I was like, hold on a second, was this Randy Savage?
Yeah, they let me play around. So
it's the summer's main event, the CW4 Kids Dragon Ball Z Kai Brawlathon. You're gonna love this. Every Saturday morning, 3 heavyweight episodes of the series that packs serious punch, and it all leads up to the brawl to end them all. Goku versus Frieza. Be here for 3 rocking rounds of Dragon Ball Z Kai. Today at 10, the CW4 Kids Dragon Ball Z Kai Brawlathon.
Oh, that must have been a bit of murder on your throat.
yeah, like some of those, especially if you have to do like long sessions or multiple takes of stuff. But mercifully, a lot of times we could get in and out. But every once in a while, you had a long session and it would take a day or two to fully recover.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I've heard stories like that. Like, what was it? I saw a panel with Carter Cathcart the other day. He was talking about how when he played Weevil Underwood in Yu-Gi-Oh! One time, the next morning he woke up with 103 fever.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, it was awful, apparently, he said.
Yeah, especially some of those shows, because it's like when they're doing these like epic battles, it's like screaming for 20 minutes straight. It's like, ah! So it can really start to wear on it.
Yeah, especially Dragon Ball. I hear so many stories from like Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat. Just like, oh man, this why do we have to keep screaming? So going back to Pokemon, I also wanted to say that there was the whole voice switch thing that happened, and then you came back like a couple years after that.
Yeah.
But how did that come about for you? Like, if you can go into those details, but if not, then that's okay. I don't want to,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everybody kind of knows, but I think it was just like, it wasn't like, there wasn't any big like thank you for your service or like we love you, but it was just okay, this other studio has it now, and like I've been a part of it at like I want to say 4 different studios now, like because like it started off I want to say at like Taj Studios is when I first started, and then it went over to 4 Kids, and I was with it for a while at 4 Kids, and then I think Duart had it for a long time, and now there's like a new studio that has it, and they've still used me a couple times on some of their stuff, and so it's like it's kind of just, at least for the dubbing end of it, they kind of look around for the best deals, I guess, or look around to try to like get different talent pools and kind of get different people involved and stuff. So it's just I guess part of the business, I guess, and I've been a part of other shows where that's happened too, where it started off at one studio, and then this other studio picked up the rights and they wanted us to continue, or sometimes they recast it, or so like it's happened 2 or 3 times on 2 or 3 different shows with me. And at first it was kind of a bummer, but then I realized that's just how the money end of it works, and it's not a personal thing. It's just the way the business is run. So
like the other shows that I can think of, I actually have them in my little thing of questions here. It happened with Winx Club and Go Go Riki, where 4 Kids like dubbed the shows, then they lost the rights to them. They eventually found their way back to the New York scene, and some characters are voiced by some of the same people, but others are not. It's just weird how that's happened like 3 times with 3 shows that 4 Kids worked on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not involved in those dealings, so I don't always know the details. I just, I assume though, from things that I've heard, that it's usually financially driven, and everybody's, everybody ends up lowballing each other and trying to kind of, get the most for the least amount of money, and so everybody's trying to do it that way, and because these things do cost a lot to produce, and there's so many people involved when you look at like adaptation and direction and mixing, and then the actors, and like so there's a lot of moving parts, and so I think there's a lot of reasons why they have to look for the best deal possible, or and so much of that doesn't really have to do with the performances of the actors. It's more just about the budgets and all that stuff.
Yeah, as you could probably tell, I've been around like voiceover stuff for a really long time. Pokemon is one of the biggest reasons I got into the world of voiceover and discovered like half of the things that I know. But I know that when it came to like voicing Pokemon themselves, you started doing it after the voice switch, but and I know you said like a lot of them are kind of muddied, but are there any like inspirations for some of the voices that you've done for like some of the creatures?
I mean, I think when I want to make sure I get this right. Is it Turdinator? Is that right, Turdinator?
Yes, okay. Turdinator.
He started off with a little bit of like a drop of like Schwarzenegger, I think, like Turdinator, and then I think they had to pull it back. Turdinator! A lot of times what I do is I like, for the creatures, I let the animation or the drawing of it kind of inspire what I'm going to do. And also a lot of times, about 70 to 80% of the time, they want us to listen to what was done in the Japanese and just try to emulate that. So a lot of times those decisions are kind of made for you, in terms of what it should sound like or what they're going for.
I wanted to say, like, you did a little bit of Tepig earlier, and I really appreciate, like, Tepig is one of those Pokemon that says its name, but you add like a little inflection, like little pig grunts. Like, you also did that. Like, you also did that with Mamoswine, and that's a Pokemon that is like rooted into my brain since I first saw it. And I just occasionally I'll just go because it's just rooted into my brain.
Right.
I just think it adds like a lot of personality, because I don't really see a lot of Pokemon that do that. Like, a lot of Pokemon will say their name, but it's really rare to see them like do things alongside that. Yeah, it was fun. We they let us kind of experiment with that a little bit, and it was fun, and it stuck. So it's good to hear that you like that. Oh, I love it. It's great. And the thing that inspired me to get to try and chat with you was actually because you were also the voice of the Sandile line, like Krokorok specifically.
Yes.
And it was because one of my friends, he's drawing a Pokemon every single day, and he's trying to get up to the current number, which is like 890 something. And he eventually got on. Yeah, I know it's a lot, and there's gonna be more soon. But he was on Krokorok, and on his little thing, he said, "This thing has got the best cry in the anime." I was like, yeah, you know what? That's pretty cool. And I thought to myself, wait, why don't I see if I can talk to Marc Thompson? And the worst he could say is no.
Yeah, it was fun.
Is it? Could I ask for a Krokorok for my friend? Would that be okay?
Absolutely, yeah. Like and again, I'm sorry if I'm not remembering this correctly, but is it a Krokorok? Is that right?
He goes more like a Krokorok kind of thing.
Krokorok! Krokorok!
I also really like your Crocodile, which goes like Crocodile.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Crocodile. Crocodile.
Yeah, when he digs, he goes like croca.
Yeah. It's got that little pirate flavor.
A little bit of a pirate in that, you say?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there was something about just the word crocodile. It sounded like someone was saying crocodile with an accent, so like a crocodile. So it just made me start playing with the piratey thing. So
now that's interesting.
yeah.
So going back to even more Pokemon stuff. If you can't tell, I'm a huge Pokemon nerd, but I first became aware of your voice like when I said that like all the old talent was starting to come back, like when Duarte got the thing, and I saw your name attached to Gliscor, and Gliscor was like one of my favorite Pokemon, still is. I was like, wait, who's this Marc Thompson guy? Who else did he voice? And Viva Pinata was running around the same time, and I was like, oh my god, it's Franklin Fizzly.
Yeah. All right, bro. Fizzly Bear fans.
Hey, it's Franklin from Viva Pinata. I love to serve Barrafunga! And I love honey. Oh, yeah! And you're watching 4Kids TV!
Oh, I love Franklin. He was so cool. I've heard stories about like Viva Pinata and how you guys recorded that at like an ensemble cast, right? Is that true?
Yes, that was one of the ones that did do it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
that
really
was.
shows.
I loved that show. I wanted that to go on longer because that was like there was a lot of great humor in it, and it was fun because it was prelay and they were animating to us, and so that was a really, really cool show.
Yeah, it was so interesting because like that show had like so many different hands in it. Like there was Microsoft, there was Rare, the guys who made it. It was also like a Canadian production as well because like, it aired like well after it ended in the US. It aired up in Canada for like well into like 2012, and apparently we got like a bunch of episodes that didn't even air on like American television. So
oh wow.
Viva Pinata is like fresh in my mind. I have tapes from like 2010 where I have a couple of episodes of Viva Pinata on them because it was on for that long.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. And I have to say about Franklin, like, do you remember that Buzzlegum song where he was singing?
Oh,
about, like,
very vaguely. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I can't get it out of my head. Like since I first heard it, it went like, "Grow those buttercups high, boy. Grow those buttercups high. Bring the bees and hives on trees. Grow those buttercups high."
Yes, I do remember that. That's crazy.
Grow those buttercups high, boy. Grow those buttercups high. Bring the bees and hives on trees. Grow those buttercups high.
Oh, me and my brother can't let that go away, or like other lines with Franklin. It's like, I'm sure your hand will come in handy or something like that, and then Franklin was like, wouldn't my hand come in handy and my arm come in army? Just things like that.
Yeah, I love playing the dumb guy. It's fun.
Oh, it's just it's the kind of humor where it's like, we know we're being ridiculous, but
yes,
that's what makes it so good. You guys embrace it, and it's like these guys are just having fun. Look at all these goofballs. Just
yeah, no, it was great, and like Eric directed that one, and it was very like he let us play and come up with gags on the spot, and improv stuff, and it was really a blast to do. And those guys are all hilarious. Like everyone that was on that show is so funny.
Oh yeah, Professor Pester, played by David Brimmer.
Yes,
he's fantastic. I love him every time. The phrase "I have no regrets" has been put into my I have my little personal dialogue that I have with like friends and family. That is one of my things. Just going, I have no regrets. Then I went back down the rabbit hole to see like more stuff you did. Your Casey Jones, Maxie, like I said, Duke Devlin, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But are there any roles that maybe aren't as well known as you would like, or ones that have really stuck with you?
I mean, you mentioned Ultimate Muscle in the intro, but that was one of the after Pokemon, that was one of the first lead parts I got at 4Kids, and I always liked that show. I thought the humor in that one was also really cool, And
Yeah.
that was a weird one because I mean, it was very random, and you got to do a lot of different voices on that. And it was also cool just from a nostalgia point of view because I used to play with the little pink action figures that cartoon was based, that Kinnikuman was
Really?
based on. Yeah, because they used to have these like little pink wrestlers, and we didn't know what they were because we never got the cartoon when I was growing up. But you collected all these little pink figures, and so then to like work on the show years later and be like, oh, this has a whole backstory, and these guys are from space. It was just, it was kind of cool, and it's not quite as well known, but it like the people that know it seem to like it, and it's pretty. I really like that show.
Big bad boys from outer space. Get a body slam, the human race. Wrestlers race to our defense with strength and speed and flatulence.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, like, I'm going to go on a whole Ultimate Muscle thing, but yeah, I heard, like, throughout the years, so many people were like, oh, man, this is one of 4Kids' best dubs because it's like wrestling and they knew what they were, quote unquote, they knew what they were doing and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember seeing it when it was on the Fox box in like 2002. I was like 7 years old, but I hadn't seen it since then. So you know what I did recently? Like just yesterday even, I rewatched the first 3 episodes.
No way.
It was so much
With meat?
fun. Oh, it was so good. Like, everyone goes on about the innuendo and things like that, and
Yeah.
I mean, I had to see it for myself, and it was unbelievable what you guys did
Yeah,
in
I mean,
just the
there's-
first 3 episodes alone.
Yeah, like there's definitely moments where I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe this is getting on TV. So
Yeah,
was
like,
wild.
there was, let's see, first episode, Kid Muscle, he's pretending to do his homework, but he's actually reading, like, a girly magazine. It's like,
I know.
time for my favorite subject, geometry. Someone
Yeah.
knocks on the door. Hey, I'm trying to study important figures over here.
right.
Or
Yeah.
like when Kid Muscle appears and he made it through the test, his wife and like his grandpa are right there, and then it's like his mom is like, oh, that is Kid. I guess that explains why we kept getting all those Betty bicep workout videos in the mail. And then the grandpa's like, actually, truth be told, that was me. She just
Right.
enchants me.
Yeah, I mean, they had some pretty like really cool humor and like really funny writing in that one. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Even
like that show.
sorry, what were you gonna say?
oh no, I
didn't
just
cut
said
you
I
off.
like that show.
Yeah, like even when Meat gets introduced, he says, "My name's Meat. It's a long story. Let's not go there." But even just dumb jokes, like the kind of dumb jokes that I love, like just like what I was saying about Viva Pinata, like what was it? When they all got through the training regimen and they're like, "Oh, it's like we cut the mustard and we're on a roll. Yeah, we're real heroes." And then Kid Muscle says, 2 heroes on a roll with mustard. And then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take mine with some rye toast. Hold the anchovies on mine."
Right. And then that is also the birth of the "With my rice I like to have some cow, cow, cow." Like, I love that song. That one I remember because that one got drilled into my head.
Do you know what this means, Sweeney?
I'm afraid it means that a song is imminent.
You're right. Time to sing for my supper. With my rice, I like to have some cow, cow, cow. It tastes so very good, I don't know how. It's my favorite form of chow, chow, chow. Wow. Eat now. All right. Abdomen coming in.
Oh, that was fantastic. Or like the last thing I'll say about like there's just a background character. He's got long hair and he was voiced by Eric Stewart, but he sounds like Ringo Starr because of the long hair.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what's that Kid Muscle over there?
Right. Yeah, I need to find those. I should watch them again now because those are really great.
Oh yeah, it holds up fantastic. There's like 70 something episodes, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that now.
I wonder where, like, because you would think with all the streaming stuff going on that someone would want to stream it somewhere. So I should look
I don't
into
know.
that. I don't know.
Because I mean, I watched it through alternative means, but
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no it's not anywhere. It's not on DVD.
Yeah.
It's not on a streaming service. I'm getting by with things that people recorded like 15 years ago on some
Right.
United Kingdom channel.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. It needs to. I bet you in like the next couple of years, it's going to be one of those things that gets like a full DVD release from like Discotech, like
Right.
Fighting Foodons or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Now to go on to more wrestling stuff. Thumb Wrestling Federation. Do you remember that?
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
That was such a weird show, but
Yeah.
it was like it encapsulated I'm not a wrestling fan, but it encapsulated everything cool about wrestling and mixed it with thumb wrestling in like just a 5-minute intervals.
Yes,
I
these
loved
like really
it.
quick little things, yeah.
You were a
Wow.
character. You were a character on that show called Bucks Gazillion.
Okay.
And yeah, he was a rich guy, and he was with the villains, the Dexteras. No, the Sinistras. The Dexteras were the good guys. And in like the season 4 finale, he fought against a guy called Face Off Phil, who was a Canadian guy played by Sean Schemmel, and he cheated by getting one of his little cronies to go backstage and steal the trophy. He beat up the janitor, and then at the very end, he manages to get all the Sinistras to gang up on Face Off Phil, and he wins. And that was me and my brother, when we saw that the first time, we were shocked, because that was like the finals for like the season finale, and every season the good guys won. But not this time. It's like, oh my gosh, what? He just and then he wasn't the leader of the Sinistras, but then he says like, now that I'm champion, I'll be making the TWF a part of Gazillion Incorporated. My minions won't let you do that. Actually, I don't think they'll mind. I'm paying them very well. I don't know how.
That is a deep cut, dude. You've really done your research.
Okay, you money-munching moose pie, I'm gonna knock you straight into the sin bin with Uda Dude!
Translation. He says he's gonna kick your butt. Never leave home without a Canadian translator.
You never should have left home at all, eh?
You know there's more to skating than brute force. Hit it, ladies!
Ah! Figure skaters!
The best money can buy.
Oh man, I have that episode recorded on tape. I even converted it to digital.
Oh, wow.
That's how much I loved that stuff.
Now, did you ever hear about Crash Test Dummies?
I recall Crash Test Dummies. I even
Wow.
seen a few commercials on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for kids, like we did a lot of really out there concept things. Like just really like, okay, a show about thumbs. All right, a show about Crash Test Dummies. Sure, why not? There was a lot of really out there ideas that are really wild.
So Thumb Wrestling was a 4-Kids show?
Wait, was it? Or was
I
that?
don't think so.
Oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong.
I didn't see their logo anywhere in the credits, but all you guys are in there.
Yeah. I don't.
It's one of those shows.
I don't remember. That's funny.
So
I'll have to look into that now.
So let's speaking about 4-Kids, like I talked about them a little earlier, but what are some of your fondest memories just working with like friends, like even like from the past or even today? Like what are some do you have any stories to share or you can recall?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, it was. I was really lucky to work there. Like it was because in its day, you would go in and there would literally be like 4 or 5 different cartoons being produced, and you could go in and work on like all 5 of them in one day. Like, you know, you'd be a villain on this one, you'd be the hero in that one, you'd be a creature in this one, you know, and like they would just kind of bounce you around to all the different studios. And so it was really awesome to be a part of that, because they had that whole, you know, Fox block, or, you know, that they were trying to fill up. So it was perfect for, you know, someone like me that was coming up in animation, and it gave me so many opportunities and so many friends. Like, you know, we a bunch of us, we would see each other in the halls, and like, get to know each other, and eventually, like Dan Green and Wayne Grayson and a bunch of guys put together like a little mini theater company, and we did like a little like kind of off Broadway show together. We did like this thing called Five by Ives, and we took different short plays and performed them for a very limited run, but it was awesome, and all those guys I'm still friends with them today, and I texted Dan about some Star Trek thing just yesterday, and so it's like you kind of, after being through all that, like got some really solid friendships out of it, and it's definitely sad to see it, because now it's just the one show. Now it's just one Yu-Gi-Oh property they're doing there now. But it's wild to see, in its heyday to where it is now. It's kind of sad now, but it's I still like going over there. But it was such an amazing place to work, and there was always so much energy, and it was like, you got Oliver over there and Sean over there, and just all these really crazy kooky guys, and there'd be like people doing dueling Christopher Walken impersonations, waiting to go in the booth, and and like the Ninja Turtles, and we got to do group records for Ninja Turtles, so there'd be like tons of time of like riffing off of each other, and improvising stuff in the booth together. And so I really loved, I still get to work there, so I love it, but it's just during that time it was really magical. It was really special.
That's crazy. Speaking about the Christopher Walken stuff, Ollie told me, like, when he was working on Shaman King, you guys were doing like Christopher Walken impressions, and apparently in like the first episode, just some random guy just goes, "Hello."
yeah. It always worked its way in there. Like Wayne and Ollie, like I can't compete with theirs. Like they both have like spot on in, but like they would make it in there, and then there was Wayne and I both do a version of this kind of like crazy clown character, and we usually put it in different shows over the years.
In this corner for the mighty Dexterous, that master of mirth, the lord of laughs, Milty the Clown!
Well, hello there, Colonel. You ready to laugh? So you live in a pyramid, huh? I hear those are some great people are dying to get in.
I don't want a birthday party. I want to destroy you.
Oh, happy birthday to a really evil queen.
What?
You're great at cursing people and treating them real mean.
And it's like it's kind of like Snagglepuss mixed with one of the guys that was on Hollywood Squares or something like that.
The Ed, is it the Ed Wynn guy?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, when I hear that voice, I always go to Chef Kawasaki from Kirby Right Back at You.
Oh yeah. Do you do voiceover? Like, do you do acting stuff?
Oh yeah, I've actually. Yeah, I didn't even get to say it, but I've been doing acting for quite a long time. Like, I've always had a bit of an acting bug. I was always a shy kid, but like I always had a little bit of the acting bug in me. Like when I would see school plays, there would always be a part of me that's like, I wouldn't do that way. I would totally kill if I was the genie in Aladdin, or Fu in Beauty and the Beast, or like for years, like I went to an art school for high school, and there was a part of me that was hoping, it's like, man, if we ever do Little Shop of Horrors, I just want to be Audrey II so I can sing Mean Green Mother from Outer Space.
Oh yeah, that would be a great role.
That would be so awesome. But I've been doing acting. Like I had a drama teacher in the 12th grade, the 11th grade, and he was so cool. He was everything that I could have ever wanted out of a drama teacher. He was a good friend, great friend. I'm still trying to get in contact with him, but he's one of those guys that's on Facebook but is never on Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, and he helped me figure out what do you want to do with this, like how to get emotions out of certain things. And I remember I did a play, and I had to play like this washed up, like sleazy guy who's like, it's like, oh, your girlfriend's pregnant and you didn't even know it. And it's like, oh man, I'm so horrible. And I apparently made one of the teachers cry because of my breakdown during the play.
Oh, wow. All right.
Whoa. But I've been doing stuff on my YouTube channel since 2012 as well, and aside from writing all the scripts and getting all the footage and things like that, I also do all the voiceover for it too. So
That's awesome.
I'd like to think I know my way around it. I'll link you to my stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Like I shared some of my stuff with I did a video on Pokemon impressions from like a couple years ago. So I'd like to think I've gotten better, but he was like, "Holy smokes, man. That wasn't half bad."
That's great. And you said you're in Canada?
Pokemon. Yep, I'm in Canada.
That's great.
Like, I'm out in the fall, so not too far away from you guys out in New York.
Oh, yeah. It's funny how it's closer to New York than some places.
I know. But yeah, I've seen all of you guys, like you and all the, like, there's so many of you guys out there in New York that, like, all of you guys, like, I watched you, like, on the Foxbox 4 Kids TV, CW 4 Kids. When I was, like, teetering on 20 years old, like, that was when, like, Toon's Eye was about to end, but
yeah,
I still watch you guys all the time because you guys are just so good at what you do, and, I mean, I have a bajillion inspirations, and you guys are a part of that, like, all you guys.
Thank you. That's awesome to hear.
It's the least I can do. Now, we're going to get into Star Wars. I have to say, I'm not big into Star Wars, but from my talk with Ollie last year, and just by looking up your name on the interwebs, I can tell you probably have some kind of love towards it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan, and it's one of the great honors of my life that I get to be a part of the audiobooks, and they got a lot of great narrators, but I'm lucky I get to do a bunch of them, and I love it. It's so fun.
So how did that come about for you? Like, how did that all start?
My agent called me and said, have you ever done an audiobook? And I was basically like, no, not really. And I was trying to kind of get myself out of it because I didn't really, it's awful to admit, but I didn't really read books for fun, for growing up, or, I was the guy that always got the Cliff Notes and did the book report based on the Cliff Notes. And, so the idea of having to read an entire book was just, scaring me. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And
yeah.
But then they said, would you want to do a Star Wars audiobook? And I was like, whoa, wait. Yeah, sure. What's this? And then they sent me the little section to audition with, and I studied it, and I went over it over and over and over again, and I prayed, and I was like, God, please let me get this. And I went in, and I think by this time I had done a lot of the animation stuff, and I think I got cast because I could do the voices and mimic a lot of the movie characters and things like that. But again, like the whole narrating the book part, I definitely needed a lot of work, and I needed a lot of help. And the director, who's really awesome, he was able to help me get better at that, and kind of explain to me that, when you're doing the dialogue and you're doing the character voices, you're making it really interesting and engaging. But anytime you're reading the narration, it's just falling flat. And he was like, you got to find a way to make the narration as engaging as you are the dialogue. And I think, again, that was me just coming from the animation thing where it's like all dialogue and that's all you focus on. But he helped me kind of figure out that missing part, which was that I had to really tell the story and narrate it and pay attention to the exposition as well. And so that really helped me a lot. And now I actually kind of like reading.
See, everything works out.
Yeah.
So what was when me and Ollie were talking about Star Wars, he went on a whole tangent about how much he doesn't like A New Hope, like how much he hates Yoda.
Which, how can you hate Yoda? He's like one of the most iconic, amazing characters ever created, and he gets hung up because it's Grover. And I'm like, it's not Grover. It's like,
do we really need it to be Miss Piggy? Keep your Muppets out of my Star Wars. That's exactly what he told me.
Yeah, but it's like, but there's so much more to it than that. Like, it's an amazing character. But to each his own, I guess.
So, like, what kind of heated arguments do you guys get into about, like, certain fandoms?
Well, I mean, they're not really heated. Like, he just ends up making me laugh about everything. But, like, we went and saw the reboot Star Trek together, and I think we both really liked that one. We didn't. I know I didn't like Into Darkness as much because I thought they were going to just kind of forge forward and kind of do their own thing after the first one. But the Yoda thing is probably the biggest thing. I mean, we both like DC comic books, but maybe we're a little disappointed by some of the DC movies. Like Dark Knight is obviously amazing, and the Christopher Nolan Batman stuff is amazing, but like some of the attempts at the expanded Justice League stuff fell a little flat. I don't want to speak for him, but I think we were both on the same page about Man of Steel and being disappointed that they wrote Superman in that situation where he has to like kill Zod, and like I think we both, and I got kind of frustrated that Jonathan Kent is trying to keep Clark from helping people, and he's like, like when he's like, well, should I have let him drown? He's like, well, maybe. I was like, what? No, like Jonathan and Martha are supposed to be where he gets his values from. It shouldn't be that like like I understood the angle they were going for, which is that you want to protect your child and hide that, which okay, fine, but his whole before this, the whole time, Superman gets those values from middle of America, small town Kansas family, kind of teaching him these values, and that's what makes him so, kind of the moral compass of the DC universe or whatever, and so it's just disappointing to see that. I was like, come on, so I think we probably geeked out over that and other things. So although I will admit I want to see what the Zack Snyder cut is all about. I haven't heard about that. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. We'll see. I've always liked Zack Snyder's action sensibilities. I thought Man of Steel was an awesome depiction of how powerful Superman was, and like the fight scenes where you just see like a blur, and like that stuff was really cool. And he's great at shooting those action sequences, but I didn't really some of the story points in the dialogue I didn't like as much, but maybe he'll surprise me with his cut of Justice League. So
I know Ollie said, like, when he talked about Man of Steel, he said, if I'm watching a Superman movie and I'm not driven to tears, you have lost me.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the music to Man of Steel was cool. The action was cool. I feel like if you could marry Man of Steel with Superman Returns, you'd have a perfect modern-day Superman movie. Because, like, I think the honoring that Superman Returns did of the Christopher Reeve Superman, which is still the best Superman, like but they did a good job of like, with the modern effects, trying to honor what Chris Reeves did, but he didn't have anybody to go up against. Like it was Kevin Spacey was kind of fun, but he needed something to punch in Superman Returns, and then in Man of Steel, great action sequences, but then like just some of the story beats were just felt off for my taste. Like they felt like I wanted kind of I didn't want a Superman that was wrestling with whether or not he wanted to be Superman. I love the whole I'm here to help Superman. Like the Superman, it's like, I want to make a difference in the world, and I want to use my powers to help others, not like brooding, like no one understands me and this burden is so hard and I don't know if I want to do this or not, or like that's not what
Batman's
I want from Superman.
Territory.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I haven't seen any of the Superman movies, but it's just great to hear how passionate
you haven't seen the
are
Christopher
about it.
Reeve one?
I haven't seen any of them, but I mean, Superman was never my Jones. I was more of a Batman guy. But
you should watch the Christopher Reeves, Richard Donner, like the first Superman and the second Superman, and then stop after that. But like you should.
Okay.
But those are like mandatory viewing, and they might change your opinion on Superman. Like those ones are really good.
Yeah, I mean, I try to give Superman a fair shot because everyone is like, oh, Superman is boring because he can do whatever. He can just destroy it. No one can beat him in a fight because he's Superman, but I want to give him a fair shot. Like, there's more to him than that. I know that.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about Superman is what everyone else hates is the idea. Like, I don't think he's boring because of that. Because I think in every other situation, absolute power would corrupt absolutely. But here you have someone who has absolute power, and yet they choose to serve. They choose to, like, use that power to help other people. And, like, the weakness to Superman has always been, like, you know, obviously he's kryptonite, but his main weakness is his compassion for other people. And that's how villains can always get him is, like, if you endanger someone else, that's his weakness, you know? And like, so, like, and he can't be every place at the same time, which is, you know, they play with that in some of the films. But, like, so I don't know. Like, I think that idea alone is really compelling, that this idea of, like, someone with all that power and yet he chooses it to help other people with it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I remember seeing an episode of, like, the show Justice League Unlimited, and there was, like, a villain who basically could make people live out their fantasies but, you know, they'd be stuck in the real world, like, as basically a vegetable or something. And Superman had, like, a family, and, like, it all came crumbling down for it. Like, I forget the specifics, but it was really sad to see Superman go through, like, his own little issues.
Right.
Things like that. Yeah.
I don't remember that one, but I should check that out. I like that show, though.
Yeah. Justice League. Like, I'm a very casual DC kind of guy, and, like, Marvel and things like that, like Batman and Spider-Man. Like, sometimes I'll check out a thing, other times I won't. Like, I've seen all the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, like Spider-Verse. I only recently saw the Dark Knight trilogy. Like,
oh, really? Did you like it, though?
Yeah. Oh, I loved them.
Yeah,
like,
those are great.
I think, like, it was one of those movies, like, all three of those movies were really great. The second one got me crying near the end when Batman had to decide, like, who to save or whoever. Yeah. But I also just love, like, how at some points it tries to be serious, but just Christian Bale's Batman just, you know, sometimes the voice is a little, little crazy. Like, the whole, where's the trigger? It's like, swear to me, we'll never give it to an ordinary citizen. But I love it. That's what makes it even better.
Yeah. Which is, you know, it is, sometimes it's, like, funny, but, like, what I appreciated about it, though, is I did like that he did that, because a lot of times superheroes, they just wear a mask, and it was always confusing to me, like, well, why don't you recognize so-and-so's voice, or why don't, you know, like, how can you not tell that that's so-and-so? But, like, and also it fit with this idea of him trying to be this fear-driven, you know, like, trying to scare criminals and, like, whatever, you know, so... Although sometimes it came across kind of comical, but it was pretty. I kind of liked what he was choosing to do in that.
I get what you mean. What do you think of Bane? Bane's voice.
Bane was funny, yeah. Well, especially because the way they mixed it in the movie, it was like there were so many times you're like, wait, what? But Tom Hardy's a great actor. Like, I just love that he makes choices like that. Like, it was because it was so unique, and it's like, it's become, like, iconic now. You know, like, it's really cool.
I know. Like, in the Harley Quinn cartoon that's airing, like, well, it's on American streaming services, but it airs on TV up in Canada. Like, Bane is in it, and his voice is just that voice.
Oh, really?
That's
great.
It's like they just roll with it. It's hilarious, and it's not like that's his only shtick, though. He's like an actual character, and he's kind of a goofball, but he can be serious when he needs to be. But I love that they went with that Bane, because everyone knows that Bane, but I love it. And
because
like,
before he was just this meathead, roided out, like, goon, and now he's like, hello, Batman, what will we do with that?
Like, he'll like fall, and he'll do like a scream where he'll be like, it's like, that's exactly what I wanted.
That's funny.
So I think we've actually gone through all the questions. When me and Ollie talked, we went on for almost 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was awesome. But is there anything I didn't ask that you wish I did? And that's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, honestly, not that I can think of, I mean, you were pretty thorough. You knew some stuff I didn't know, so I'm pretty impressed.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I try my best. But I guess is there anything that you would want to plug, or what's going on in your world right now?
I mean, I'm based in New York, so we're dealing with all the, like, the whole world is, but like we're dealing with the whole Corona stuff, and so it's definitely been challenging because, like, I had my first actual job in a studio today in like 2 months, so
Wow.
So it was nice to get outside and actually, like, be in a booth, because I've had to do a bunch of recordings from home, and it's been so challenging. Like, I try to, like, set up whatever soundproofing I can, and I've got, like, ironing boards with blankets draped over them and strings holding up sheets, and, like, I'm kind of making blanket forts around my mic, and anytime, like, a truck goes by, or, like, I did a, like, there'll be, like, a storage facility next to me, and the garbage truck will load up stuff, and I'm like, go away. So it's like you're so aware of every tiny little sound, and so it's so stressful. But so I'm hoping things will safely get back to normal, so that I can get in booths again. So
I do have to say, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I do have to say that whole story of you, like, putting stuff behind things and stuff, and trucks passing by, that gives me hope as a budding actor as well. Because I mean, not budding actor, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but,
no.
Like, I was doing some recording for a video just today, and oh man, my neighbor's air conditioner, I can pick up the frequency on my microphone. I was like, stop! And it goes on and off, like, periodically, and I'm just putting, like, I don't have a crazy setup in my room, so I'm just using whatever I can, like blankets. I was thinking I should put, like, a pole underneath this thing so it doesn't touch the microphone. But if you can produce, like, good quality even with the odds stacked against you, that gives me hope as someone who hasn't been in the business professionally, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, like, in one sense, it's made me appreciate studios more, because, like, you take for granted, like, being able to just record in a quiet, still place. But on the other hand, it's like you are starting to realize that, like, wow, a lot of this stuff could be done here. Like, maybe I don't have to go all the way to that, place way, 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 way far away, or, like, because, like, if you're, like, I'm sure a lot of industries are getting shaken up in that way. Like, a lot of people are figuring out, oh, we could do a lot of this from home, or we could do a lot of this, this way, or so. It's an interesting, paradigm shift we're going through.
Yeah, I kind of hope, like, this opens the door in some ways for other actors to basically get work that they ordinarily wouldn't get before. Like, I know Mike Pollock, like, Mike Pollock, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Like, he talks about, like, oh, I got this thing by with a Yeti microphone, but I just put, like, a little fort together. Or, like, I'm getting, like, things from LA that I normally wouldn't, because it's like, we just need to find somebody. It doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
It's like, this would be really cool if it works out this way. I mean, aside from everything else that's going on, I mean, every cloud has a silver lining. You know?
No, that's true. There's definitely blessings that are starting to pop out from all the other horrible things going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that more opportunities, like, people are understanding. Oh, wait a second, as long as we have good quality with the microphone, it doesn't really matter where it comes from.
Yeah, no, that's very cool, because it would be nice if that opened up those opportunities for people.
Yeah, totally. Because, like I said earlier, like, I love voice actors from everywhere. Like, they're a voice actor. Like, everyone thinks about the LA guys first and foremost, and those guys are fantastic. But I mean, there's local people. There's people in Canada. Like, there's people in Montreal, Toronto. There's people in England from, like, that do shows that people watch over here that people don't know. And then there's the whole New York scene, and people sometimes forget about how many people are actually in that industry and how much stuff they've done over the years. And I kind of feel like how I'm interviewing you And the last couple of people I did, I'd like to try and shine some sort of spotlight on people that have been so influential to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you doing that, because it is hard to sometimes stand out, because there are so many talented, amazing people out there, and so it is hard to kind of sometimes wiggle out and say, hey, I'd like to do that too.
So that was your childhood like 15 years ago.
Right.
I'm still doing it. I haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah. Hire me.
So the last question I have, I guess it should have come earlier, but it's here at the bottom of my script. But now, Pokemon Journeys, I know there's NDAs and blah, blah, blah. It's actually airing in Canada before it airs on Netflix in America on June 12th.
Really?
But, yeah. But can you say anything about it at all? Because, this won't come out until June 27th, but, yeah. Would you be able to say anything?
They're pretty strict. Like, I think I'm allowed to say that I'm on a couple episodes or something. So
I did see your name in there.
Yeah. So
yeah,
but I think that's all I can really say. But I mean, I other than like, I think creatively, it's kind of like what you're saying. Like the other people are now getting a chance to be a part of the show, so that's always a good thing. But Lisa's still directing, and she does an amazing job, and so I think it's gonna be a great season, and it's gonna be great moving forward. And if you liked what's come before, that's still gonna be there, and then it'll be the added bonus of like some new voices and new flavors in the show. So I think it's gonna be really great.
I'm actually seeing some returning voices that I hadn't seen. Now, I'm not saying you said it. I'm saying it because I saw it. But Megan Hollingsheed, do you know the name Megan Hollingsheed?
Yeah.
She hadn't been on. She left the show in season 6, but she's back on the show now with the new series.
Yeah,
that was like my secret hope, because I was like, I know a lot of Pokemon guys are currently in LA.
Yeah.
So maybe now that Lisa Ortiz is in LA, maybe she can get like old people back on the show and bring them back. So it's easier for some of the LA guys, because I know some LA guys still come back to New York to do some stuff on Pokemon, but maybe it'll make it easier on both sides. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Megan Hollingsheed. That's Nurse Joy from episode 2. That's the original Nurse Joy. Oh my goodness.
That's pretty cool.
But I think that's pretty much it, unless you had anything else you wanted to say, but I have to say thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This is really fun, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I mean, this ain't no big show or anything, but it was so great to get to chat with you, man. It was
Definitely.
so cool. Someone that I had been listening to literally since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
I didn't even know it at the time. It's like, who would have thought that I'd get to chat with him?
That's so cool. Thank you so much for telling me that.
The least I could do. So I think that's it for now. And again, like I've said this with all my other guests, like if you ever want to do this again, you're welcome on anytime, whenever.
Great. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
And I'm going to speak to the audience now. Thank you all for taking a listen. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Thanks again for watching, everybody. I really do appreciate it. And once again, a very special thanks to Marc Thompson for setting aside some time to get to chat with me. It was super awesome getting to know you, dude. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to give this video a like, share with a friend, subscribe, check out all my social media pages, Patreon page, all that stuff that I never shut up about. But I will ask this, what do you guys think about interviews outside of Pokemonth? I'd still try and have one lined up for the event, but would you like to hear from more people more than just once a year? If you would, please let me know. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I would personally love to get to chat with more people. I mean, why wait, right? And with all that said, I'll see you all next time. Once again, thanks for joining me on this event that I like to call Pokemonth. Catch you later.